Welcome back to NewsMakers with Mike Briggs. By the way, I am Mike Briggs, and we've been coming to you every Wednesday for about 13 and a half years, talking about local news, state news, national news, things that might affect us, things that are curious, maybe a little more in-depth analysis than you get on a local newscast. And we have guests who come in and talk about stuff. I'm going to talk in a minute about the Tower Theater, what's going on over there. A little bit of my perspective. I don't have much new to say, maybe some interesting thoughts, but stick around because Karen Roseberry is here from Southern California, from Lancaster. You know, there's a recall going on. Besides the governor, the DA from LA County, George, I forgot already. George Gascon. They're going to recall him, and we're going to find out why. We don't hear about that in our news. I read the news pretty close, and I've only seen a few little articles about George Gascon being recalled. There's his picture right there, by the way. Hey, George. First time I've ever laid eyes on him. Now, we are Tower Theater. It's across the street. Look at this right there, in fact. Tower Theater. Now, I've lived here. I was born here, just not even a mile from the Tower Theater. I've lived close and around the Tower Theater most of my life. I used to be a classical guitarist. I performed at the Tower Theater, and it is really a piece of my heart. I really, really love the Tower. What do I want to happen to the Tower? I want it to stay a theater forever and ever and ever. But I don't have much say in it. It's not really up to me to decide what goes there. But a lot of people in the community are very concerned about the Tower Theater and what's going to happen to it. There's weekly protests, or should I say demonstrations. People demonstrated that they love the Tower and they love the community. They'd love for it to stay the way it is and the way it was. And I've been out there on Sundays. So I don't really get in the mix too much, but I love, and what a great atmosphere it is out there. People from one neighborhood coming together, being together, celebrating some togetherness, and letting the people know who own the Tower Theater, who might be buying the Tower Theater, that they want it to remain the same. So now, here's my point. I said from the very beginning, in fact, I'm going to show you a clip from the news from way last February or March or something when this whole thing was starting. I said back then that it's going to be a zoning issue. If it is not zoned for a church, there's not going to be a church there. The city leaders aren't going to change the zoning, especially since the public outcry has come out. So I don't think we have to protest. I don't think we have to demonstrate. I think it's just going to run. It's going to run its course. It's going to end up what it's supposed to be. I think I have that clip from the news. Justin Sacher interviewed me. Let's take a look at this from, I think, last February.
That's right, Alex. Unlike so many businesses during this pandemic, the doors there at the Tower Theater are closed. There is one exception, however. On Sunday mornings, Fresno's Adventure Church uses the Tower Theater for services. It's calling it its Fresno Tower campus, and now the church seeks to formally purchase the property, and some say the sale should not be allowed to go through.
Fresno's iconic Tower Theater opened in 1939, one of the most photographed landmarks in the city. It is the centerpiece of an arts and entertainment district, home to bars, restaurants, galleries, shops, and nightlife.
One Friday night you could have a rock concert, and the next Friday night you could have a jazz musician, and the next Friday night a burlesque show. It brings this diversity of all cultures, and it puts them into this melting pot in Fresno that, you know, we tend to be so proud of.
Tower District Marketing Committee Director Tyler Mackey says the theater plays a vital role for area businesses by bringing visitors to the Tower.
And those people then filter into the nightlife businesses, the restaurants, the bars, and it creates diversity and it keeps people coming to the Tower and rediscovering it.
The sale of the Tower Theater has led to a storm on social media, some accusing outsiders of trying to take over a place where they find safety and acceptance.
We're accepting of all people in the Tower, of all backgrounds and all interests and all religions.
Mike Briggs is a Tower realtor, radio personality, and former city and state representative. He says the development plan for the Tower District was created in the 80s.
Which says where bars can go, where churches could go, where schools could go, whether you could have a home in your business, so many things like that. So the guidelines are very, very specific. If the Tower Theater were to sell to whatever business that required a conditional use permit, the people of the tower will have the chance to step up and have input on that. It's not a slam dunk or an automatic. Yeah, I think it's going to be about zoning. Now, to take a step back, property rights issues, as far as I'm concerned, the owner could sell it to whoever they want. It's his property, and that's what America's all about, is property rights and being able to buy and sell your property. At the same time, you can't just do whatever you want with your property. We have zoning laws. This whole Tower District specific plan, which put the zoning for our area, happened way before my time, before I was on the city council, which was in the 90s. And it's very clearly laid out. It wasn't just a couple of people got together and said, let's make zoning through the tower, and this is how it's going to be. There was giant meetings and giant committees, and it went on for years and years and years, deciding what use can go where in the tower and when as a specific plan. In fact, it is the law. The zoning ordinance is the law of Fresno. It's not just a recommendation or something people are thinking. It is the law, and it was done with a whole bunch of people's input. And if there is a change or somebody tries to change the zoning, again, there's going to be all kinds of input. So whether they should be able to sell it, of course they should be able to sell it. This is America. You get to sell your property to whoever you want. In fact, nowhere in America is there a law that says you cannot sell your property to anyone you want. Now, to that end, there is a petition going on. I don't know how serious this is about for the tower, asking people to sign this. It's a petition to the mayor and city of Fresno from the residents and friends of the Tower District, and they're petitioning. That means you're asking them to do something. It says, we, the residents of the Tower District and other friends of the Tower District, are increasingly alarmed by the crisis surrounding the proposed sale of the Tower Theater. In order to maintain the Tower District's economy and historic character as an inclusive arts district, we present the mayor and the city council the following demands. I just want to tell you guys, nobody likes to be issued demands. That's you just want to petition them. You want to request. Anyway, it says, number one, Tower Theater shall not be rezoned, nor shall any conditional use permits be issued to the Tower Theater for any purpose other than Tower Theater's historic intended use as a performing arts center for the presentation of a commercial entertainment or free censorship. Anyway, they want to maintain the traditional use of the Tower Theater. Now, I got to tell you something. The Tower Theater was not built as an entertainment venue. It was built as a movie theater. It's a movie theater. That's a historic use. In the 90s, they converted it over to a stage and theater and that kind of entertainment. So it's not really the historic use. I mean, it's a great use. I love the Tower Theater. I love it for having the shows and concerts and stuff there. But be careful what you ask for, because if they revert to the historic use, it's movies. That's all it was permitted for from the 1930, 39, 40, all the way through the 1990s. Anyway, also they're demanding that the Tower Theater not be separated from the other parcels. Well, that's a land use issue as well, and we have a right to be heard on that. If they try to split those lots, there's basically three pieces. There's the Sequoia Brewery, there's Meonads, which, by the way, is already a separate parcel, and then there's a Tower Theater building also. They couldn't split those without going to the Planning Commission, where we could all go and protest the split, without going to the City Council, where we could all go and protest the split. It says the City Council shall appoint a recreated Tower District specific plan implementation committee. I'm not sure it's gone away, but that's an excellent idea. There should have been an implementation committee. When I was on the City Council, I didn't do anything in the tower without talking to the Tower District Specific Plan Implementation Committee. Anyway, go take a look at that petition. I think all these efforts are good. If you want to keep it a theater, if you want to keep it that performing arts space, be heard. But I don't think they're going to change the laws, of a democracy just to let you get what you want. The guy who owns a theater can sell it anytime, any place, and I don't think a law on the land could ever stop him from doing that. Doesn't matter. I mean, I want it to remain a theater, but I certainly wouldn't want to go take away somebody's rights to sell their property. By the way, Lawrence, the Abbotts, I knew the mom, Dottie Abbott, for years. She loved the Tower Theater. She didn't love it because it made her money. She used to talk to me about, it's not a moneymaker. The Tower Theater was not a moneymaker. And in fact, in the 90s, they had to shut it down altogether. They're showing films, midnight movies, stuff like that. It was so fun. it was so unprofitable, they finally shut it down and said, we have to rework this thing. That's when they converted it over to be a performing arts venue. Now, Lawrence Abbott, the family member who owns it now, that building, it's a giant, costly building to keep there. For a whole year, he couldn't have any events. He went without any income from that property for an entire year. Maybe he wants to sell it, maybe he doesn't want to sell it, but maybe he has to sell it after a year. So, I don't question Lawrence's. All of us have had a very tough year because of COVID. Now, getting to the point of, should they put there what we want? Now, my question is this: when do I get what I want? Because I want the Daily Planet back there, right next to the Tower Theater. That was my favorite place to go in Fresno. The Daily Planet's gone. I want Butterfield's back where Sequoia is. I want Butterfield's. I want the Landmark Restaurant back. If we're going to start making lists of what we want, and if the free market people who own buildings are going to do what we want, instead of them doing what they want with their own properties, then I want to get on the list. I want the Landmark back. I want Daily Planet back. And worse yet, you know what the #1 concert venue in Fresno was for years and years and years? It was a Wild Blue Yonder right here in the Tower District, right around next door to that India's Oven restaurant. And you know what happened? When it had to go out of business, that evil landlord, Pete Cobb, turned the Wild Blue into, you know what? He opened a church there. He let a church move in to the #1 concert venue in all of Fresno. Pete Cobb, that evil landlord, did that. And guess what was on either side of it? One side was the Golden Chinese Restaurant that sells beer and wine, and the other side was that Million Elephant. It was a full bar. It's a full raging bar next to a church. Can you believe it? And across the street from the church, it's called Livingstone's Church, by the way, is Vinny Bitty Bitchies, another bar in the Tower District. Bars surrounding a church. Can you imagine? I'm just saying that a little tongue-in-cheek because Pete Cobb is truly the best landlord there is in the tower, and he's got a lot of buildings, and they're very well kept, and he does a good job. It's an issue of things come available. You put a for rent sign up, and you put in there who will take it. Now, I want to, another thing, all these people who are coming out and clamoring out for the Tower Theater. By the way, Sunday mornings is beautiful. It's like a festival, a fair, a street fair with people dancing and singing and so many cool things going on out there. So I say keep that up. That's not harming. I mean, saying what you want is different from demanding that a private property owner must do what you say. Now, Roger Rockets is a performing arts venue right across the street. It's been there for 43 years. I support them. I go there. I go to the plays there, the musicals. They've been closed for a year and hurting really badly too, I'm sure. I'm just guessing. I've been going there and buying dinners because they've been selling dinners just to help, keep the lights on and keep the rent paid. The good company players who've been around longer than 43 years have been there all 43 years. It's a performing arts venue. If they went out of business, would we be marching the streets saying, keep them open, keep them open? I will, but I think we need to take a breath sometimes, look around the tower, look at all the businesses we have. We have 2 grandfather clock shops. Do you guys support those businesses? Do you support Dragon's Treasure right on the corner? There's so many cool businesses in the tower. Let's support what we have. Make sure they keep going. Make sure they don't need to go out too because of financial times or because of academics or anything like that. Now, you may agree with what I have to say. You may disagree with what I have to say, but you know what? You're invited to come here and talk about it. Anybody can come here on Central Valley Talk and talk about any issue they want, except for hate speech. Let's keep it friendly. Now, I want to say one more thing. Why are the Proud Boys out there? What does that have to do with the Tower Theater converting to a church? I should have said this. I'm going to roll this other video. The pastor of the church, I think his name is Anthony Flores. He put something up this week. Let's see what he had to say.
What's going on, Adventure family and friends of Adventure? Check this out. Anthony here with the Tower Theater update. Did you hear the news? We are back at the Tower for our first church services in a long time. 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. We can't wait to see you there. Did you know Mother's Day is this weekend? So that means grab mom, bring her to church. Matter of fact, get the whole family, but we got a special gift for mom this weekend. She won't want to miss it. Hey, a couple quick updates. Number 1, please park on the north end of the parking lot or the Tower Theater in our parking lot, because we just want to put a little bit of distance between us and the protesters. You're going to enter in through the back door, straight to your seat for a wonderful worship experience. It's going to be awesome, trust me. Then also about the kids, we have kids at the tower from birth to 3 years of age, and then your children from the 4 years of age all the way to 6th grade will be at the Palm location. We've hired security for both locations, and we also have our A-team security, so we want you to feel safe and know that your children are being watched and cared for. That's our highest priority. Hey, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you this weekend.
That's the pastor from that church right there in the Tower Theater. You heard that park on the north and sneak in the back doors, how they want their patrons to come in. And I don't know, have they come over to the protests? I haven't seen any representation of the church. I invite the pastor onto our show. He's welcome here. I want to argue with him. I'll listen to what he has to say. Let's get some of this stuff out in the open. I would like to see the Tower Theater remain a theater. It's not up to me. It's not my choice. I'll speak up and say that's what I would like, but that's as far as it goes. That's what I would like. I would like the Daily Planet back. I would like Landmark Restaurant back. I want Butterfield's back. And I want the Tower to be what it was the old days. All kinds of antique shops and bookstores up and down the Olive Avenue. We just don't have those anymore. But can the government make them put those back? Anyway, let's hear your opinion. Come on, Central Valley Talk. Go to our website, CentralValleyTalk.com, and sign up for a spot. Don't go anywhere because George Gascon's being recalled in L.A. County, and Karen Roseberry is here to catch us up on that. What's going on? Don't touch that mouse. We'll be right back.
Central Valley Talk. What are we? We're an online talk show dedicated towards promoting you, whether you're a business, band, nonprofit, or whatever. How do we do it? We connect you to a sea of thousands of viewers by placing you in front of a live camera and letting you, well, be you. Work with our team of friendly faces to help you get maximum visibility above the rest of your competition.
Welcome back to Central Valley Talk.
Welcome to NewsMakers. I'm Mike Briggs.
Hello there. Thanks for joining me today on Boys to Men.
Well, we're back again with another guest, and this time it's an author.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the first show of The Method.
I want to talk a little bit about Daughter Diaries, and then
yes.
we'll get into some of the questions.
Sure.
I'm Barb, and this is Salo. Thank you.
Go to our webpage, CentralValleyTalk.com, and off to the right is a little place you could click, and it says you want to be a guest. You click and you type it in, and next thing you know, you're a guest. And we're live again with Newsmakers. Hey, look at the Tower Theater back there. It's there today, it's there tomorrow. It'll be there in 20 years, it'll be there in 50 years. By the way, our office here at Mike Briggs Properties building, get a little plug in for Mike Briggs Properties. We had our 100th birthday for the building the other day, right here at Van Ness and Olive. If you drive by, honk. No, don't honk. We're always in live shows and people are always honking. Our next guest comes from Southern California, Karen Roseberry. I got it right.
You did.
We
Thank you,
rehearsed
Mike.
it 20 times. Karen Roseberry. And tell us, the DA in LA County is who?
George Gascon.
Yeah.
And
we don't hear much about him.
Right.
Didn't hear about his election, his campaign, or anything.
Well, I will say your district attorney, Lisa Smitkamp, has actually been vocal about the effort that I'm here to represent today.
Recalling. They're going to recall this. Let's
Correct.
just get a little background. Wasn't he just elected a few months ago?
November election, he was elected. He took office on December the 7th, and the first day that he took office, he began issuing a series of directives that truly endangered the residents of Los Angeles County.
So November, the same time the presidential election was.
All the same election.
He's like around the 6th, 7th, whatever it was, and less than a month later, he's already the DA. They switched that fast. Huh?
Correct. Most of the state offices and the local county offices in California generally will take office at the federal wait until the January timeframe.
Now let me, just before we get on this guy too soon, what did he run on? What was he saying he's going to do? Now they displaced a pretty good DA, right? Or
So he ran against Jackie Lacey, who'd been in office, I believe it was 8 years prior to that, if I'm not mistaken. And yes, I mean, she'd been, doing the job. She was actually, making sure that LA County was having their laws enforced. She was holding accountable.
Number one job, I would think, for a DA.
You would think.
Enforce the law. Make sure the laws are enforced.
Although that's actually part of the reason why I'm here is because so Gascon ran on a reform-based platform, but nothing in what he ran on said that he was no longer going to enforce the law, which is exactly what you're describing. First day in office, he issues a series of directives that include no longer prosecuting a rather lengthy laundry list of misdemeanor crimes. We have a serious problem with out-of-control elected officials. And so there's pushback by those who are proponents of his, saying, well, he's, the duly elected officer and that, you can't, challenge an election. Well, first of all, yes, in our country you can. There are recall efforts that are perfectly democratic. And second of all, just because you're elected to the office of district attorney does not make you king to be able to ignore laws that have been passed by our state legislature, laws that have been passed by voters. You don't get to ignore, dismiss, and disregard the law simply because you win an election.
Nobody has that power. Now, I'm going to keep pulling you back to the beginning.
Sure.
First day, he says, okay, we're not going to enforce all these laws.
Right.
And it was just a matter of days before people started saying, hey, this guy's got to go.
Pretty much.
And who was saying he's got to go?
So there are a number of individuals that are involved in this. There was, kind of a period of time to, let him kind of get his feet under him to a small degree before it completely.
Little honeymoon period.
Well, not exactly. I mean, the recall effort pretty much started as soon as possible after that. In Los Angeles County, an official must be in office 90 days before official proceedings against the individual can commence.
But they didn't wait 90 days. I mean, they said just a few days after, he said, people are saying this guy's.
Well, okay, so he issues his directives. People see them as being a threat to law and order, being a threat to public safety, actually disregarding the very same election in which he was elected. Same election, same county, people voted to reinstate cash bail. Prop 25. In fact, actually, I would say throughout, this portion of the state as well, it was, popular. Again, passes statewide, and in Los Angeles County, it passed by 9% of the vote, whereas Gascon only wins by 7%. So more people in Los Angeles County wanted to restrict what he was defining as reform and did so with their vote. He disregarded that and has, abolished cash bail. So the 90-day period has to proceed before he can be served his notice of intent. He was served that, and now it's a matter of getting the petition for recall approved by the county.
Yeah, we're going to get to all that, I promise. I'm just going to pump you for info, because we're in Fresno. We just haven't heard that much about this.
I understand.
Now, when he said he abolished cash bail, that means you don't need cash to get out? You just get out?
It means that, yes, you will be, with a small exception of very high-level crimes, yes, you are released without having to pay a cash bail, without there being any necessary component to compel your return to court. And we're already seeing cases. In fact, last night in Covina, the city council voted a no confidence vote. They're the 7th city to do so against Gascon. And the law enforcement officer representing the city and providing information spoke about a case where they had an individual who'd been released without any bail, only to later on repeat and again be caught again in the commission of another crime.
Now, in these no cash bail instances, are they just citing him in the spot and letting him go, or they're driving him down to the jail, processing them through, then letting him go?
Right. A citation is issued. I think it depends on the actual case as to how far into the booking process it actually goes. I know in some cases it's a citation. I do believe in other cases there is a more formal booking that goes on, but I think that there's a lot of them where it's pretty much kind of a cite and release that's
Well, here's
happening.
I'm thinking a guy needs a car, so he's stealing it. I'm going to steal his car. Cop comes up, gets caught, and says, hey, you can't do that. I'm going to cite you, and, don't steal a car. And the cops are overworked. They have too much to do, and they're put in danger all the time. And each time they encounter another person, there's another danger. And so, they don't want to take 2 hours out to drive. It takes a long time to process someone into the jailhouse. So cites the guy, lets him go. The guy still needs a car. What's he going to do? When he knows the consequence
Very
is
good.
not going to jail.
That is actually an excellent point that is raised, and in fact, it's actually why we've become almost a social experiment. And in fact, this is actually starting to garner some national coverage, because this is emerging in other cities as well as to how do we deal with our crime issues, and whether or not these modern-based theories actually have a effective, pragmatic implementation, and really we're seeing that they're not. Despite this attempt to sort of twist and manipulate data, when we look at when crime was actually prosecuted in the 90s versus when we saw that the lesser sentencing emerge around kind of the 2011 2012 timeframe, we actually see that there's been a spike in violent crimes, and it's actually on the Department of Justice website where you can find the data for that. Michael Rushford from the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation put out a great press release that basically cited those very statistics from the Department of Justice as well. And you can find that actually on our website, so you can check that out.
I want to go back to, so he's elected, the next day he says, I'm not going to prosecute these laws. Can you tell us some of those?
Absolutely. In fact, one of them I actually wanted to highlight after you were mentioning about the difficulty law enforcement has. One of them is resisting arrest. So not only are our law enforcement overworked and put into jeopardy, but now when they actually face criminals that may resist arrest, that's not even going to be a crime that is prosecuted by the district attorney's office.
So why not resist? Why not try to get away? Why not get a fair break and see if you could run faster than the cop?
Unless there is assault, like I say, but exactly that is precisely the point. Why wouldn't they when there's no consequence for actions?
What
Trespassing, prostitution, drug paraphernalia. Like I say, the ones that concern me probably the most in the list have to do with trespassing, because we see that there's a very lengthy correlation many times with breaking and entering that goes along with that, with vandalism, with just the fact that one's property rights are not protected, in that respect. And we're also seeing the fact that when the LA Sheriff's Department has their hands tied on prostitution, it essentially legalizes it, but it also puts at much greater risk those that are trapped in sex trafficking rings that are usually able to find a way of escape when the LA Sheriff's Department can come in and actually help.
Remove them from their situation. Take them to jail or whatever. Get them out of their situation. Yeah.
Exactly. Get them out of that situation. And that's why we actually have seen Sheriff Villanueva, the Los Angeles County Sheriff, come out and say that he can't work with DA Gascon. He, is very concerned about the fact that there are laws that need to be enforced, that are supposed to be enforced, and that his deputies are still enforcing, and that are not being prosecuted, which, again, essentially legalizes these aspects.
Now, what I notice is there's a lot of people who push to the highest place they can get without getting in too much trouble. So it used to be down here, you can't do this, you're going to get in jail. They've moved it way up here. So they're just going to keep doing more and more and more till they see how far they can go.
You're exactly right. Wherever the line is, someone is always going to cross over that line. And so when we continue to move the line further and further out, then where they're going to cross over becomes more and more dangerous.
You know why I don't speed? because I'm afraid I'm going to get caught. Why don't rob a bank? I'll go to prison. I don't know. I probably wouldn't rob a bank, but we all try to play it on the edge a little bit, and we're actually telling people when they say we're not going to prosecute this law, that means there is no law. That means it's okay to do that.
And even further still is the fact that once one is convicted, there is a question over the sentences that are being issued as well. DA Gascon has actually prevented now to have deputy district attorneys attend parole hearings. He's actually encouraged motions for the release of criminals if they've served 15 years in jail, regardless, or 15 years in state prison, regardless of what the crime that they committed, regardless of special circumstances, regardless of how heinous it was. So exactly that. We're seeing that there is not a true consequence for one's actions. And we're seeing one individual who is essentially trying to rewrite the laws in a very unilateral, and I would even argue rather authoritarian manner. When, like I say, you're elected as the district attorney, that means you're supposed to prosecute the offenders. Watch the first 5 minutes of Law and Order. And when you're rewriting the law and when you're choosing not to prosecute law, that goes far, far beyond any scope under which you were elected, and it must be stopped.
By the way, most people who break a law the first time, trespassing or whatever, even prostitution, you don't go to jail the first time. But these laws are set up to get people that are doing them over and over and over. These are habitual offenders. These are the people that are going to hurt us. And that's one reason we have that system. If you can't stop, if you can't help yourself, well, you need to be taken out of society. And when you say, no, we're not even going to prosecute any of those, it's walking down, it's a very slippery slope there.
Exactly. Again, there is a justice system that is in place. There's a legislature that's in place. And both of those are avenues and areas in which if there needs to be, sentencing reform, if there needs to be, judicial reform, like you say, there are separate branches of government to address many of those same issues, but it is not the job of the district attorney to unilaterally take that upon himself.
And I would say, thinking back to my 8th grade civics class, the district attorney enforces the law. He doesn't make them or interpret them. That's the judges that interpret them. So, interesting. Now,
I like your 8th grade civics teacher. We should have a little more of that. I wish a few more elected officials understood it.
I have a Ring doorbell. Films people come up to my door, everybody, and all the Ring people. You're in a club or something, you're sharing your doorbell footage all the time. There's people walking through our yards and our backyards all night long, trespassing. And could you imagine? It's your private property. That's your sanctuary. And now they're saying in LA, just go ahead, do it. Walk around the backyard, maybe pick up a couple things that's small, their garden hose or beautiful plant they have in the backyard or whatever. There's nothing going to happen to them.
Pretty much, and in fact, we've already seen that petty theft is almost not prosecuted either. You have to actually reach a threshold of almost, not quite, it's a smidge under, but almost $1,000 in theft before, and that's actually statewide as well. But interestingly enough, DA Gascon was actually instrumental in pushing those same propositions forward that we've seen fail time and time again, and we've seen spikes in crime. And there's this debate that's ensuing over, well, if it's not prosecuted, well, maybe it wasn't really a crime to begin with, or it doesn't get reported that way, yet the crime is still being committed, even if the reporting of it hits in a very different level or mechanism.
Now, so people from Fresno, we're actually the whole valley. We have viewers from Modesto, Sacramento, all the way down past Bakersfield. They're watching. They're probably aghast right now. Like, I can't believe this. We got to do something about it. Well, you are doing something.
Absolutely. And I would add, for the Bakersfield folks, if they're in Kern County, Cynthia Zimmer, DA there, has also spoken out in regards to these concerns. And we're seeing that more and more. And in fact, we actually have there's a recall if you're north and closer to the Bay Area, Chesa Boudin is coming under a recall and is actually very close to the required number of signatures for that too.
And is that a DA?
DA of San Francisco.
Yeah. And of course, let's say this. Let's just jump right into it. The governor, Gavin Newsom, they got the petition approved. It's going to go on the ballot. I don't remember the process, even though we did it a few years ago. We recalled a governor, and it's not easy. I think this recall Newsom, they tried it 2 or 3 times. and all that work gets thrown out and you start over again. It's not easy to do a recall.
Right, and in Los Angeles County, it's even more challenging because it requires 10% the number of registered voters of the county, not even just the number of voters who voted in the last election, as in the gubernatorial recall. So we will need to collect approximately 582,000 valid signatures, which in a county as dynamic as Los Angeles, with people moving, in and out, addresses changing, sometimes difficult to, match up registered addresses or registered voter addresses. That can potentially mean that we're looking to collect about 750,000 to maybe even 800,000 signatures, and we'll have a 160-day window in order to do that once the petition is approved.
Oh boy.
Again, we are still waiting for the approval of the petition. So
Who approves that? Some kind of county council? Or?
Yes, it's the Elections Coordinations Unit of the LA County Registrar of Voters Office.
Now, I did want to say I do have the name of the group that wants to keep the DA in LA, and it's, the criminals.
Exactly.
They like that guy.
There are chants in prison, actually, that chant for him. So people that are already convicted and, behind bars, yes, they like him. That is true.
No. Now, it's expensive to recall because first you have to be very organized. You can't just have volunteers. Sometimes you need a real solid professional team putting this together, tracking. A lot of times you'll pay young students or something to go collect the signatures, and you got to monitor them because sometimes they just get their friends to write. It's got to be registered voters. It can't be messing around. It's got to be the real deal, and they're going to check them. They're really going to check them. So it gets expensive. And is there some way we can help?
Was a huge part of the reason why I am trying to make this a statewide issue, and we would love support so that these dangerous policies and so these criminals don't spread throughout the state, right. They don't move into Kern County, they don't move up into here Fresno County, and yes, we would be thrilled for any support that might be available, and you can donate again on the website at recallgasconnow.com.
And you can't take signatures yet.
Can't take signatures yet, and those do have to be registered voters of Los Angeles County. Right. But anyone can actually circulate the petition. So if you're on vacation and you have nothing better to do when you come down to the beaches of LA County, feel free to pass around, a petition with, some other, registered voters that you meet while you're down there.
Now, when it is time to take the signatures, and maybe you don't even know this yet, how will it physically be? Will they be able to sign online somehow, or are they going to have to find a form and sign their actual signature?
LA County, and actually I think usually the state of California in general require wet ink signatures. So there will be petitions that one can print and that they can sign and that they can turn in to drop off locations
Single
throughout
signature. You don't have to have
county.
like 50 on a page. Maybe you could do one. And
you can do
print,
one or two. Like I say, they can print their own. However, we would certainly hope and encourage if you print off a petition and you sign it, we'll take your one or two signature by all means. But, make sure you knock on a neighbor's door and maybe pick up, ideally we'll see full petitions coming in, that are completed with signatures because that'll help us to reach our total and our required number of signatures just that much faster.
Well, I guess this period is the time to get the word out. Why are we doing this? You're not vengeful, No,
not whatsoever. Like I said, we want law enforced. That's it. I mean, when you disregard the law and you make it a more dangerous county for all of us, we actually have seen homicide rates spike 200% over last year. This is not a policy that is making LA County a safer place.
Yeah, and I want to delve into that a little more. Every time we elect a Democrat governor, the next day we start the recall. Republican governor, we start the recall. Is this partisan?
This is not a partisan issue. D.A. Gascon ran against Jackie Lacey of the same party. Both of them are Democratic candidates that are running. Sheriff Villanueva, again, Sheriff's office is actually also a nonpartisan office, as is the DA, but reform-based Democrat. We're seeing that this is not locked down to one particular party, nor should it be. Rule of law is not a partisan issue either, and it should be about the fact that if there is a law that needs to be changed, then it goes through the legislature, it comes from the people, but not from one individual. And let me just throw one other comment out there that gets thrown out a lot during this, and that has to do with the need for reform within our, whether it's our justice system or whether it's our legal system as a whole. This does not help reform of the legal system when law is disregarded. The idea is that we enforce the law equitably, not selectively. Because
Equitably is a good word, equitably.
Exactly. When we have a selective enforcement of law, that's when you get discrimination. That's when you get these cases that do need to be addressed. But if that's why Lady Justice wears a blindfold. I mean, it might be a little cliche, but it's important to note that so many times the victims of the crimes that are not receiving justice from the hands of these policies are the very same people, that are being said, oh, well, our policies are intending to help. And it doesn't work that way. That's why the law is supposed to be blind. And if you want prison reform, if you want police reform, all of those are discussions to be had, and they're important, but they don't come at the hands of disregarding rule of law.
Now, I was 2 terms in the state legislature. We made laws. That's what we did. Never like somebody says, I got an idea, I propose this law, we vote, and it's a law. It's months and months of committee hearings and listening to experts, people who knew way more than us about sociology and how the human mind works, and statistics on what happens when you make something less illegal or things like that. So it's a great process we have in America. You have the legislative branch that creates these laws, and then we don't do it right all the time, so it goes to the judicial branch and they interpret it. They throw some of our laws out sometimes, but it's through a lot of input. It's never in the dark or quietly. But the idea that just one person, we're not going to do these laws anymore. It's unbelievable.
I think it's very concerning to me as well, and that's why, like I say, we want to see Gascon recalled, and we want that to we want a recall of Gascon now.
Yeah. By the way, I'm taking no position on this. I don't know Gascon, and I'm not from LA, so. The other side's welcome to come on to the criminals or whoever is on the other side. You can come on. I won't argue with you or put you down. We listen to all sides here, and you're welcome to come. Now, I asked you a million questions. I kept dragging from your point. Anything else you want to add before we're out?
I actually appreciate all of your questions, Mike. It was great. I think it allowed for all of the various points to eventually be raised, and I appreciate it very, very much. I thank you so much for having me on today. And I thank the watchers of Central Valley Talk and the folks of the Fresno County and the surrounding areas, and I do hope that they will get involved. This really is a statewide issue, even though I know you can't sign the petition, but you don't want to see these policies coming to your county next. And so I really would encourage just getting involved, with this effort, whether it's sharing on social media, whether it's picking up a phone and talking to a friend or a family member in Los Angeles County that you haven't talked to in a while, and let them know that this effort is underway, and to check out Recall Gascon Now as a place where they can get more information and be involved in making their county a safer place.
Karen Roseberry.
You've done so well, too.
Karen Roseberry. And Recall Gascon Now. Go to that website, recallgasconnow.com. Look it up, research it. I Googled a couple newspaper articles right before we came on there. I was shocked by what I read. So there's no secret plot going on to remove someone from office. It's just a very public process. And you know what? If that guy thinks we should get rid of those laws, then he should stand up for that. And he's going to face the voters and let them decide. If that's what he believes, that's what he believes. So I think the people of LA may believe something different. We'll find out. This is NewsMakers with Mike Briggs. We'll be back here next Wednesday with another fascinating guest. So see you then.
Central Valley Talk. What are we? We are an online talk show dedicated towards promoting you, whether you're a business, band, nonprofit, or whatever. How do we do it? We connect you to a sea of thousands of viewers by placing you in front of a live camera and letting you, well, be you. Work with our team of friendly faces to help you get maximum visibility above the rest of your competition.
Welcome back to Central Valley Talk.
Welcome to NewsMakers. I'm Mike Briggs.
Hello there. Thanks for joining me today on Boys to Men.
Well, we're back again with another guest, and this time it's an author.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first show of The Method.
I want to talk a little bit about Daughter Diaries, and then we'll
yes.
get into some of the questions.
Sure.
I'm Barb, and this is Salo. Thank you.
Go to our webpage, CentralValleyTalk.com, and off to the right is a little place you could click, and it says you want to be a guest. You click and you type it in, and the next thing you know, you're a guest.
When you get hungry, remember Barbecue Bob.
Location is 409 Fresno Street on the corner of Fresno and Jones on the Golden West side of Fresno. The phone number is 559-375-1259, and we invite you to come out. You will not be disappointed.
Cremation and burial planning. Simply speaking, we need to talk. Are your final wishes cremation or burial? The three most frequently asked questions about planning your cremation or burial plans are: 1. If my death occurred tomorrow, my funeral would be arranged by whom? 2. If my death occurred tomorrow, the money needed to pay for my funeral would come from where? And 3. If my death occurred tomorrow, I would expect my funeral to cost? Call today to set up a time to talk and pre-plan your final wishes. Call Ross Rice at 559-325-1201. Email Ross Rice at ross@riceinsbenefits.com or visit rossrice.myhomehq.biz.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Hi, everybody, at 2 o'clock. Welcome back to